يسر وتمم بالخير. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسول الأمين وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. رب يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين يا فتاح. رب زدني علما رب زدني علما رب زدني علما. So today's topic is we'll talk about the current money system, how is it broken, and we'll also talk about how Bitcoin is an alternative money that humans have ever created. So let's start with a verse from Quran. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تأكلوا الربا أضعافا مضاعفة واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. O believers, do not swallow interest, doubled and redoubled, and be mindful of Allah so that you may attain true success. So it's a prohibition. The interest is prohibited for believers. This is the basic message from this ayah. So our slides, this presentation, the content will be related to riba. So the agenda is, this is the agenda. We'll start with fundamentals of money and how it got evolved. And during that course, we'll see how money was used as a ledger and how it got evolved from commodity money to fiat that we have. And then we'll talk about the broken money system. It includes fractional reserve practices, fiat and gold, and who benefits from the system. And then we'll discuss about Bitcoin and its path to monetization. So let's start with the basics of money. We all know what money is. So very basic definition of money is it is a medium of exchange. If a person A wants something from person B, so person B is not going to give that for free. Person A has to give something in return. And the function of money here is that money acts, and money makes it feasible. And money facilitates this transaction. Without money, it would be very difficult. That's why the money we see right now was not like this before. It got evolved. Why it got evolved? Because humans, we have heard that phrase that I think it's about need. Need is the mother of invention. So humans, so it was a need. Money was a need. So it got evolved from acting as a ledger. Then it got evolved to commodities being used as money. And then we have fiat system right now. So what was ledger? So what is money as ledger? Ledger is simply it's a summary of transactions. So it tells us who owns what. So it's a record of ownership. It tracks who owns what and what has been exchanged. So this is a history. Around 5,000 years ago, we had the first type of ledgers, which was in the form of clay tablets, and they were used to indicate transactions. But I think even before, maybe it's not recorded, but even before these clay tablets, we might have oral ledger, where people use their memory to just commit or to save those transactions that happened with each other. So we can say oral ledger was the first ledger. So how would trade happen between people? So there are two types of people, if we can categorize. You would have trusted groups. So in the absence of money, it's very easy to trade if the group is trusted. So if I'm within a trusted group, so because in earlier times there used to be, people used to live in groups. If there's a geographical area there are multiple bands. So a band is a trusted group, so it's easy to exchange goods and services within that band. But it's difficult to trade outside that trusted group. So you either do a direct or spot trade, or it's very difficult to do subsequent trades. So that comes to the point that when trade is done beyond trust. And we all know that we have this barter system, which is people used to use, the things they use in their daily life. They used to use that as the minimum exchange. So that's barter system. But the issue with barter system is that it's quite inefficient. You need both the people should. You need a double coincidence of wants. Basically, if I need something and I want something, so the other party should need what I have. Otherwise, you cannot do this barter. So that's the issue with barter system. Then it got evolved to commodities being used as money. But you cannot use any commodity. So people realize that shells are the best commodities that can be used as money. And shells are probably the earliest commodities that were used as money. The reason for shells being used as money is it's quite natural, because shells, they were portable, they were durable, they were scarce. So you can say shells, they replaced social credit when people used to trade between trusted groups. Now we have shells, we don't need that trust. So shells replace that. And it's not only shells that were used as money, there were other commodities like tobacco, rice stones, feathers, salt, cattle. So this figure, if you see here, all these commodities, they were used as money. So even salt was used as money. But of course, at that time, shells were the best money because of the properties it had. Now, why is commodity money? Why was commodity used as money? Because it enabled efficient trade with strangers. Because you don't need to trust a stranger. You can just use shells as a medium of exchange. It also supported complex trades, and it was also used as store of value. So that's basically about commodity money. Now let's go further. There's a need to define money. What makes a good money? It is natural that when people when they involve in trade, something has to evolve as a good money. As you saw, shell was a good money, but it did not last long. There was another commodity that we say we call it gold. Gold, it won the commodity war, we can say. It evolved as the best money, even better than shells. Now, here begs a question: what makes good money? What are the characteristics of good money? So, if we see these here, these are the properties. It should be divisible. So, all these properties, you may not find these properties, each and every property in books. Maybe you may find divisible and portable and durable, but you may not find verifiable or scarce. But so you can say it's but natural. It's but natural that people settle on certain properties, and they decide that this is the best money. If a commodity has these characteristics, then that's the best money. So the money has to be divisible. It should work for small and large purchases. It should be portable. Portable means a lot of value should be in a compact weight. It should be durable. It should be fungible. Fungible means each unit can be used. Each unit is same as the other unit. So if you have a $10 bill, the other $10 bill is also same. So that's fungible. Verifiable means it's easy to verify that the commodity, that the money is authentic, and it's scarce. Scarce is the supply should not change, it should not expand quickly. So all these characteristics are there in gold. Gold is the best money because gold is divisible, it's portable, it's durable, it's fungible. It is verifiable, but maybe it's not very easily verifiable by common people. But people are there who are expert at checking the authenticity of gold. So we can say it is easily verifiable, but it's not that easy, and it's extremely scarce. But so here the scarce is a very important characteristic because it should not be extremely scarce. So we have a commodity, let's say rhodium, which is extremely rare. Gold is rare, but it is not extremely rare. It's well balanced. It's such its balance is such that it does not its supply does not expand too quickly, and it's not expanding too slowly. So it has a certain rate. There's a term used for this cash, which is stock to flow ratio, which means how much is how much amount of gold is right now, and how much is being supplied every year. For gold, it's 67. The more the higher number, the higher stock to flow ratio, the better is the money. Gold has the highest stock to flow ratio. This means gold can be doubled the amount. If we have let's say 100 tons, it will take 67 years to double the that amount of gold. It will take 67 years. That's stock to flow ratio. So gold checks all these boxes. That's why it evolved as the best money. But that's not it. We'll see in the later slides how the system got changed. So this, if you see this here on the right side, these are probably from Abdul Malik al-Marwan. These are the coins. One is the dirham, one is dirham. Gold and silver were the money used at that time. Gold, so after gold we have silver. Silver has the next highest stock to flow ratio. So silver was used for small purchases and gold was used for large purchases. So let's come to now rise of banks. How did banks come into picture? So banks, it started with proto banks. Proto banks is they're not banks as such. They're not modern banks as we have right now, but they indicated rise of banks. So banks started in ancient societies. It stretches back to thousands of years. Before banks, we had the Hawala system, which was kind of proto banks. In Hawala, probably you all know what Hawala is. It's basically it's a network of people. If you have to send money to some other country or some other nation, you send it through Hawala. So you contact a person who is part of the network, and that person contacts the other Hawala who is in the other country, and so in Hawala system, money does not cross the border, because if I have to send money to someone in Dubai, for example, so the guy who is in Dubai will get money from the Hawala in Dubai, not from Hawala from India. So money does not cross. So that's Hawala system. And then, so what exactly happened in the rise of banks? So we know that gold and silver, they were used as money, but people find it difficult that to store gold. They cannot put a lot of gold in their homes. So what they did, they stored it somewhere. So there is an institution, or so some network is there, or so we can say it's a bank. It's a kind of bank. So they used to save their gold in that total bank, or whatever we call it, to safely save that gold. So what happened with time, people thought that let's not people basically. So these banks they used to issue a receipt that said basically, so if I have put, let's say, 1 kg of gold with the bank, I get a receipt which guarantees me that I own 1 kg of gold. So that's a receipt. But with time, what people thought that why not use that receipt as money? Why should I bother about gold? Why I take gold with me every time I buy something? Why not pay using this receipt? Because receipt is as much truth as the actual gold. And the banks found that it's a very good idea. That's where the modern banks found a way in the system. So now we have receipt. We don't have gold now. We have the receipt now. So initially they were 100% asset backed, which means whatever receipt said, if it said 1 kg of gold, then the bank had actually 1 kg of gold. So it was 100% backed by gold. But with time, what happened is that banks realized that people don't withdraw all the gold at once. Now we are coming to fractional reserve system. Banks realize that people don't withdraw all the gold at once. So if they don't withdraw all the gold at once, it's okay that banks don't store all the gold that is said on the receipts. Basically, banks realize that what if we store only 80% of gold, like instead of 100% of gold? Because anyhow, people don't withdraw all the gold. Let's save only 80% of gold, and let's lend the rest amount of gold. Let's lend 20% on interest. Why should they do this? Because they earn interest on top of that. So now it's a profit engine of modern banks. But the problem is that it did not stop there. Banks realized that it's even safer to have only, let's say, 40% of gold as a backup, because people don't withdraw all the money, all the gold. And with time, it went so further that banks realized that even if we keep 1% or even 0% of gold, it's still safe. That's what we see right now. The fiat system, there is no gold as the backup. It's not backed by gold at all. But it started with 100% backed system, then 80%, 70, and 10%, and slowly it went down to 0. So what's the problem with this system? The problem is if people start withdrawing gold, it will panic the whole system. It will start a bank run. So depositors will rush to withdraw. Once you rush to withdraw, it's a kind of chain reaction. It affects other banks. So the whole system is going to collapse. And we actually had this Knickerbocker Trust collapse in 1907. Then when this happened, basically JP Morgan, they intervened and it was recovered from that collapse. The reason it collapsed is because there was a lot of money in the system, and when people started to withdraw money, so it didn't have much money in the system, so it had to collapse. So the problem with the fractional reserve system is also that there's inflation, there is currency devaluation. So these are important, very, very important, the side effects of fractional reserve system. So what is inflation? Inflation is nothing but it's a devaluation of the currency. Okay, we'll talk about inflation in a bit, and just 1 second. Yeah, so we'll talk about inflation a bit in another slide, but these are the problems of fiat system right now. We have inflation, we have currency devaluation, it's based on debt, it's based on interest, and there is no transparency because banks do this all behind the scenes, and we common people don't know about it unless you educate yourself. So the common people, they don't know what's happening behind the scenes. At the end of 2022, US, they had deposits over 18 trillion. So 18 trillion means that US banks, they owed people $18 trillion, but they had only 3 trillion as the bank cash. So what does that tell us? That it's almost 6 times. So they had, so people had deposited 18 trillion, but they had only 3 trillion bank cash. So where did where the rest of money come from? So let's see in other slides how did it come into picture. So this is a graph here. It tells us what's the ratio of deposit to bank cash from 1973 to 2023. As you can see here, at the peak, it was almost 23 times. So 23 times deposit was there, but the cash was, so it's like 23:1. For every $1, they had probably lent out $23. And to give you a high-level picture how fractional reserve banking works is you deposit $1,000 in the bank. This is the modern bank, the bank, how it works right now. You deposit $1,000 in the bank. So bank reserves $100 and it loans out $900 because they are required to reserve 10%. They can loan out 90%. So when it's loaned out, and now we have $1,900 in the system right now. So the $900 is also there in the system because the guy who received this $900 has also put back in the bank. Now we have $1,900 in the system. Now the $900, it's again put in the bank, and because the banks are required to keep only 10% of the of 900, they keep only $90. They loan out 810. Again, now at this point we have $2,710 in the system, and the actual value, the actual cash dollars, it's just 190. Now, when this 810 is loaned out, it's again put in the bank. It goes back into the bank, and now banks. Now the bank will keep only $81 in the bank as a reserve. It will loan out $729. Now at this stage, the bank has $3,439, but the actual dollars it has is $271. So the system has over almost 10 times dollars. So system has $3,000, but the actual dollars they have is just $271. So this is how fractional reserve system works. Now let's see. Now we saw here that there is a money creation. So how is the money being created in a fractional reserve system? So the current modern system, the current bank system we have, it's since it's fractional reserve system, how is the creation of money? Like how does it happen? So there are a lot of ways that money is injected into the system. There is a very popular way, it's through wars. We had World War I, World War II. So banks, so the government had to fund the war, but they cannot raise all that money from people. They cannot use the tax money because that doesn't fill the gap. So the gap is still there. So what the government does is they issue war bonds, and through war bonds, massive amount of money is injected into the system, and this money it's created out of thin air. That means there's no actual money. It is just written in the computer. It's just digital money. There's no actual money. There's no value actually. It's just created out of thin air. And this has happened throughout wars. But the major wars we had in the past, it's World War I and World War II. And we also had 1930s, the Great Depression. At that time, the gold standard was abandoned totally, and the government needed to stimulate economy. People did not spend much, so to make people to spend again, government had to inject money. So these are the ways that money is created. So it is literally printed out of thin air. So let's come to now the certain events in the fiat system. One is the Bretton Woods system and the petrodollar system. So as you know that from gold, we had the rise of banks, but banks realized that people don't withdraw all the gold, so they only kept a certain amount of gold in the system. Then eventually, they decreased the amount of gold again. Now, what happened throughout this time, 1933 to 1971, U.S. was still on a gold standard, although it was marginal, but it was still on gold standard. USD, that's US dollar, it was pegged to gold. But after that, we had Bretton Woods conference, wherein USD or the US dollar, it was decided that it's the world currency. All the other currencies, they were pegged to USD, and USD was pegged to gold. But finally, we had the Nixon shock in 1971, wherein gold was abandoned completely. Now we don't have anything that's backing the currency, that's backing USD or any other currency, because USD is the world currency. All the currencies are there. We can say they're derivatives of USD. Let's say INR or the dinar or the riyal. They're all USD basically. So when gold was abandoned, so it was abandoned from all currencies. Now it's it's a 100% fiat system after Nixon's shock. And petrodollar system is simply it's the oil price are there in dollars, and every country, because oil is something that is traded globally. So because of oil, now dollar is a global currency. It's being traded everywhere in the world. Now that we have talked about this fractional reserve system, now we want to know who controls the ledger. Banks do control, because eventually all the money it is in the bank. But apart from banks, it is the government also who controls. So we have the commercial banks, we have central banks, we have Federal Reserve. So all these banks, they control the ledger. But apart from that, we also have the government. So government also controls the ledger, because government can order the bank to, let's say, freeze an account. Okay, so banks can control the system. So banks and the government, so that combination, they control the ledger. And we had two important institutions that were established: is the World Bank and IMF. The actual work of World Bank is to provide loans and grants to developing countries, and IMF is supposed to provide stability. But in reality, we don't see that, because if the poor countries, they need loans, they are required to required to follow the vision of World Bank and IMF. And when it's a time to repay the loan, it's again because they have to repay the loan with interest. So the poor countries, they cannot repay because the principal plus interest is very hard to repay. And then when it's hard to repay, they again have to go back to IMF to get a loan again. So it's a cycle for poor countries. What's the result? The poor countries, they get poorer. The richer countries, they get richer. That's the whole thing about the system. So let's talk about something called inflation. So inflation is a rise in overall prices. It means that if you have some money right now, if it's worth 1,000, it is worth 1,000. But tomorrow that 1,000 may not buy you the same thing. Let's say if today a bread is it costs $10, tomorrow it will cost $15. That's inflation, rise in overall prices. Or why does that happen? So in fiat system, in fractional reserve system, inflation it is must. So it is the basis of the system. It cannot work without inflation. And inflation has an effect called a Cantillon effect, which means that inflation does not hit everyone equally. There are people who benefit from inflation. So the rule for this is the people who are nearer to the printer, who are nearer to the system, they benefit from the system. But who are away from the system, let's say the common people, the citizens, they're the losers. And inflation behind these events like 1970s US Vietnam War. US they needed to fund the war. So to fund the war, money was created out of thin air, which inflated the system. So we had the overall rise in prices because of the Vietnam War. And then we had 2008 when there was a system collapse. So the banks had to do quantitative easing. So quantitative easing is basically it's the same thing. Money is injected on a large scale. That also caused like inflation. Then we had 2020 COVID stimulus where governments injected money and it was directed to the households. So we had inflation. Then we also should talk about suppressing gold value. So this is important because so the fiat system, it has to suppress the gold value. Otherwise, it indicates that the fiat is not doing well. So to basically let people know that fiat is good, government has to suppress, or the system has to suppress the gold value. We'll see in the next slide how much it was, how is it suppressed. Okay, I think that slide is not here. Let me see, where is that slide? Okay, I think, okay. So what's happening is that it suppressing gold, it gives an illusion that inflation is under control. Basically, that's not the thing. And how is gold value suppressed is there is something called paper gold that we hear a lot today, that gold is being traded without the actual delivery of the gold to the customer. So what happens here is a lot of gold is being traded without the actual gold being in the whole picture. So that allows a lot of buying and selling of gold, and this suppresses the gold value. If you see the next slide, this is the gold to US dollar, the whole graph from 1973 to 2025, you see here it is kind of increasing all the time. There is this time when it has been flat. I think probably there has been no wars during this time. That may be the case, and because US dollar was strong at this time. But the other things, if you see here or here, these are all, let's say this is 2008 collapse, and here what has happened is somebody has sold around 400 tons of gold, so that has brought gold price down a lot. But if you see overall the price of gold, it's going up. So it's not actually going up, it's the devaluation of currency that's happening. And if you simply Google the gold price, you'll see it's going up. And the government expects people to pay taxes on profit that they gain on gold. So in fact, it's not the profit, it is the devaluation of the currency that has happened. And this graph tells about buying power of gold. If you see here, every war, the price is going down. Here's a war, here is a war. Here is when Fed was created. Here is the war. Here again we have war. Then we have Nixon shock. So you can see every time there's a war, the gold prices, they go down because of inflation. And this is the Fed balance. Fed balance it's a Federal Reserve balance sheet. From 2008 to 2015, it's around probably 3.5 trillion. It has increased from 900 billion to 4.5 trillion. That's the amount of expansion. It's all because of interest-bearing loans. Okay, so now we have talked about all this Federal Reserve System. Let's go back to our ayah, which says that believers do not swallow interest. So we have been commanded that we should not be part of this system. Now, what do we have as an alternative? We had the gold. Now, even like gold cannot be brought back as a system. It is very hard to get gold back as a system. But humans have created another system, which is the Bitcoin. Before we discuss Bitcoin, let's read this hadith. Abu Hurairah radhiyallahu anhu reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "A time will come upon people in which they will consume usury." It was said, like all of the people, Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever does not consume it, he will be affected by its dust. So this is the current state. We are actually part of the system. Even if you don't consume, we'll still be affected by the dust of interest. Okay, so now this is the main topic after we discuss Bitcoin, discuss Fiat. Now what is Bitcoin? So Bitcoin is it's the decentralized digital currency. Decentralized means it is not controlled by any one group or small number of people. It is controlled by whoever participates in the system, whoever participates in the Bitcoin network. It was created by pseudonyms. We don't know who the guy is. His name is Satoshi. How do you come to know his name is Satoshi? Is through the code, through the Git commits, because he wrote the software. We know from the Git commits that his name is Satoshi. So Bitcoin is open source. Open source means it's open to everyone. Anyone can come and contribute to the code. He can see the code. He can audit the code. And the features of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. No central authority controls it. It's peer-to-peer. It's possible to have direct transaction between two parties. And it has a limited supply. So no one can actually create Bitcoin except through mining. And the maximum supply is 21 million Bitcoin. So because of limited supply, there is no point of inflation. So inflation is gone, and no one can create money. No one can create fake Bitcoin. It is secure. It's backed by blockchain technology, which in turn is backed by cryptography. We'll talk about that. The purpose of Bitcoin is it enables trustless payments, which means there is no need of trust because the network itself is a trust. And it acts as a digital gold or store of value. Now let's talk about this Satoshi. In 2008, he dropped a white paper. He talks about the Bitcoin, how he's going to implement Bitcoin. And then finally we had the first block that was mined. Basically, this is the newspaper, the Times, and this is when Satoshi mined the first Bitcoin block. So we had the first transactions on Bitcoin blockchain. So it's a political statement here. Although it's a newspaper, but this message, the chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks, it was in the block header. It was written by Satoshi in the block header. Now let's see how Bitcoin works in short. So I, as an end user, I create transactions using private keys. If let's say I pay Bitcoin to someone else, person B, so when I pay, that output is committed to the public key of the person B. Commit here means that no one can spend the Bitcoin that I've sent to person B except person B. Person B can spend through his private key. So it is committed to public key of person B now. Once that's done, the nodes that are part of Bitcoin network, they broadcast, they validate the transaction, and then miners, they mine the block that with these transactions, and it is now part of the blockchain. And once it's part of the blockchain, everyone agrees on the state of the ledger. Now we will have to explain all these terms here, and so we'll talk about Bitcoin mechanics here. So we have blockchain, which is the public ledger, which is the basis of Bitcoin. So it is decentralized. So blockchain gives Bitcoin decentralization. That's one thing. Peer-to-peer. Since it's peer-to-peer system, which basically means there is no middle man. So I can just directly send funds to people. So it is censorship resistant. We have another property that's using Bitcoin, which is public key cryptography. This gives Bitcoin security, and it also gives it also facilitates the ownership of funds. Now, Byzantine generals problem. This basically solves the problem of consensus. It is used in Bitcoin as the consensus, so we don't need anyone to trust. So this is what gives the trust. The multi-trees, it's a concept that allows you to efficiently verify the ledger. Now the transactions itself, they are secured by cryptography, and then double spending is, which means if you have spent a Bitcoin, you cannot spend it again. That's called double spending. That is prevented by proof of work, and security is given to Bitcoin through mining. This is some mechanics about Bitcoin. Now let's talk about Bitcoin cryptography. So in Bitcoin, since it used all these technologies, so all these technologies, they were existing. It's not something new. What Bitcoin did, it just stitched all these concepts together, and we have Bitcoin now. So it used all these technologies to make this Bitcoin possible. Now, what is Bitcoin cryptography? So cryptography means here it's something mathematical. There are certain algorithms, and there are certain hashing that's used in Bitcoin. There is something called SHA-256. It's a hashing algo. It's a hashing algo that's used in proof of work. We have heard about mining, basically. So mining is same as proof of work. So SHA-256 is used in mining. There's another hashing algorithm which is called RIPMD. This is used in generating Bitcoin addresses. Then we have also an algorithm that's called ECDSA, or like elliptic curve digital signature. This is used to sign a transaction. So if I send funds to someone, I have to sign the transaction using my private key. So that's basically about that. Now, as a user, we don't need to know about maybe all these private keys and these like addresses, because as a user, I just send funds. But it is okay if you just know, if you see how internally it works. So as a user, I just have to install a Bitcoin wallet, and that's all. But internally, what happens is that I have an address. I have something called public key. That is the public address. If someone has to send me Bitcoin, they will use my public key or public address to send. It is the account number, kind of. But the public key is derived from private key. Private key it's a very huge number, basically. And it's a 256-bit number. So from that number, we create the address, that is the account number in Bitcoin. And Bitcoin address is nothing but hashing of public key. It is the human readable address. Okay. Then we have transaction security. So transaction security is it's basically when you sign a transaction. So let's see how it all works here. So in Bitcoin. Okay, so I've talked about public key and private key. So what is a private key basically? It is nothing but it's a point on a curve. Private key is nothing but a point on a curve. So the curve that Bitcoin uses, it is this curve, y square equal to x cube plus ax plus b. When you draw the graph of this curve, it looks like this. 1 second. So this is the graph of this curve. When you draw this graph, so all these points, they're on the graph. This is the graph of this curve. So private key is one of the points on this graph, and from that point we derive public key. And how is public key derived? It's derived using a formula called K into G. K into G it's very simple. We have a point on the curve. That same curve, it is a known point. We sum it k times, which is the private key, that number. So private key times we sum it, we get another point, and that's the public key. So the way we add points on the curve, it's like this. We have 2 points, A and B. We interpolate the 2 points, we get another point, and then a reflection of that point is A plus B. Basically, the point here I want to make is it is very hard. It is practically impossible to derive private key if you know public key. It is impossible. So it is safe to publicly give your address. So no one can derive private key from your address. That's the point. So now, having said all this, what is proof of work? Because proof of work is what gives Bitcoin security. Proof of work is basically when you send some Bitcoin to another person. Proof of work means that transaction is added to a block. So in Bitcoin, transactions, they get added to the blockchain in blocks. So a single block consists of a lot of transactions. So all those transactions, they get added to a block, and then the block is added to the chain, to the blockchain. So proof of work means there are nodes, there are computers that like people like me, they are part of the Bitcoin blockchain. They are waiting for a new block to mine. they have to solve a problem. It is basically they have to hash a certain number a lot of times. So the miner who's the first to solve that, he gets to add the block the chain. So for that miner, he gets a reward, some Bitcoin he gets as a reward, and the fees of the transactions. So that's the proof of work here. Proof of work is simply adding a block to the chain. Miners simply have to solve that hashing puzzle to propose that new block. So when proof of work is done, when the block is added to the chain, it is nearly impossible to alter any transaction in the block or any block that is part of the blockchain. That is impossible. Why is it impossible? Because proof of work, it takes a lot of computational power, and if you have to reverse a transaction, you need the combined power of all the miners in the network to reverse that transaction. So it is practically impossible to do that. And right now, the difficulty of mining, it has increased so much that it is nearly impossible to reverse a transaction once it is deep in the chain. I'm just going to show you the graph, proof of work. Okay, so we have a hash rate here, this yellow. This is the hash rate. Hash rate means how much is, what's the power of computers, combined computational power right now in the Bitcoin network. It is consistently increasing every year. Right now it is so difficult, it's so powerful, it's so high that it is impossible to reverse or alter a transaction once it's part of the block. So that's a point of hash rates. Okay, so from like adoption perspective, Bitcoin it's one of the largest assets by market cap, is the 8th largest asset. And we have a question, it is 51% attack. It's a very common question. What if miners, there's a miner who wants to hack or kind of take control of the network? That's called 51% attack. 51% attack means there is a single entity that takes control of 51% of the network. Let's say we have this blockchain here, and block 1, block 2, block 3, block 4, this is the whole chain. Right now we have a lot of the blocks, or there are maybe in millions the block number, but let's assume we have 4 blocks in the chain, and this is the recent block, block 4, and someone as an attacker, he wants to alter a transaction at block 2. So what he has to do is, first of all, he has to get 50% of the whole network control, hash power. So once he has that power, that guy has to maintain that hash rate consistently to catch up with all the other miners in the network, all the honest miners in the network. So what he does is he creates a new chain, he creates a fork chain, and now his chain is like this, block 1 and block 2 hyphen. This is the attacker's version here. Now, because the other network that's going on, that was stopped, the other network has already maybe mined the other block, that is mined block number 5. This guy cannot reach them, even with 50% hash power, because it is literally impossible to catch. Even though if the guy has 51% hash power, they still cannot catch up. So that's the 51% attack, which is impossible right now. And with all this, now Bitcoin as the sound money, it checks all the boxes that the gold checked, that it is divisible, it is portable, it is durable, fungible, it is verifiable, it's scarce. There's a cap on the total this supply. Okay, so now how you can buy and sell Bitcoin? You can buy and sell Bitcoins through exchange, but don't buy from a centralized exchange. You have to buy from decentralized exchange. If you buy from centralized exchange, that defeats the whole purpose. Then we have wallets. Wallets they're nothing but a software that you can use to store your this Bitcoin. And we have cold wallets. We have hot wallets. Hot wallets are just software wallets. Cold wallets they are hardware. They are a hardware like we have a pen drive. Like that, we have a wallet that's used as the Bitcoin wallet. I think that's all. I'm sorry, there are a lot of slides, so maybe I was quite a bit fast, but I thought I would, get it done with time, within time. But I think it's already 10:07 right now. I'm open for questions. If you have any question.
Yeah, Jazakallah for the introduction of